Tell them about this house, guys, that we lived in out here in Witt. This is where we're at right now, out in Witt. It's an old country house we lived in. After we moved out of it,
Oh yeah, the devil worshiping and everything in it.
they would, yeah, Frankie, tell them that story.
Okay, the farmhouse we lived on, Old Witt Road. My friend Bruce got killed in front of it on his bicycle.
I saw it happen.
My sister Rhoda sitting there seeing him get hit by a truck and get killed at 12-year-old. Years later, we'd moved out of that farmhouse and it was abandoned, you know, had to move because the soybean fields and shit. The guy said they couldn't get the tractors up the driveways because of my brother's cars and stuff. It was a bunch of bull. But we moved and that house had sat empty for many years. Well, I got up to be older, about 18, 19-year-old, and me, my friend Tony Jordan, a couple of CB friends, Scott and John, these brothers that was on CB radio, and a couple other CB friends we all got together, and I was telling them a story about Bruce getting killed, and my buddy Tony at one time was a real good preacher, and he could break the Bible down like nobody on the face of this earth. He was an intelligent man, and he got to where he looked up so much stuff in the Bible that then he got to where he didn't believe in the Bible no more. And, you know, basically the devil. He went with us that night, you know. But at this time, I mean, after this, he quit believing in the Bible after this happened to us. At this time, he did believe in the Bible is what it was. He had his Bible with him that night. Well, we go out to this old country house. And we all pull up that old driveway and we get out. We go through the back door, the old screen door. We go in, and the old sheet that my mom had hung up from the kitchen, going into the kitchen, into her bedroom, and you know, there's a little room off to the side that went on through to this great big ass living room, big high ceilings in the living room. And my sister's room had a fireplace, big ass room. And then it went on through the house, another little room, then and a big room off the back end of the house, the L-shaped old farmhouse. Had a big L-shaped porch on it. We go in the back door, and we got our cigarette lighters and stuff, and our flashlights, and we go in, and them old same sheets that my mother had hung there many years ago was still hanging over them door faces, so there wasn't no doors on them, just open. We get to the living room, and there's a little door that used to go into a little room that was mine. And then it went on through, there's another little door that went on the other side of my room into the back room of my brother's room, Michael Tarr's. Big ass room on the end of the house. We're in this living room, walk in there, and my hand to God, they was devil pentagrams. Big, I'm talking blood, real blood, on the walls. 666, upside down crosses on the wall. They was like bones in a pentagram. They actual animal bones, maybe human bones, but there was a big circle in the middle of the living room floor of nothing but, and I'm talking a shitloads of burning candles that had been burnt, and I'm talking dozens of them. They had a big star made out in this old country house floor out of bones, remains of animals and stuff, and in the middle of it, there was a goat's head skull in the middle of this pentagram with blood all over it and candles behind it and stuff. And my buddy Tony looks at me and says, they've been witchcraft, they've been witchery done here, they've been devil worshiping done here. He said, somebody has brought a demonic being in this house. He said, I can feel its presence. And he said, I'm telling you, he said, there's something here. Guys, my hand to God, it wasn't but a few seconds later, we heard thump, 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 and it was somebody walking on a fucking cane coming through my brother Mike's room through that little door. You could hear the door handle shaking on the damn door, and hear it, and when it did, my buddy Tony looked at me, and he's praying. About this time, he said, go and go now. We all bust through there, and these two brothers named John and Scott, one weighed about 250 pounds, kind of heavy set guys. We was running through there, and he was running so fast, he run into the old refrigerator that my parents left there. He hit that refrigerator and knocked it to him sideways in the floor trying to get out of there. And,
she sees something.
be good, Mia. Calm down. Calm down, Mia.
Guys, this is what we're talking about. See how she's doing?
And, hey, so, I hear something crashing up here.
It's okay, girl. It's okay, girl.
Well, anyway, Rhoda, at this house, we all run out, right, at Granny Hope's house. And we make it to the cars and getting in the cars. And in that back screen window of the old country house, in the window, we see a cigarette lighter light up. Somebody lit a cigarette, was standing in there smoking, Rhoda. There was somebody in that house, in that back bedroom. We don't know if they were squatting or what. But somebody was in that house that night when we went there.
So, how'd y'all see him?
We was at the car. We ran to the car right there in the driveway and looked back towards the back door. Remember the little windows right there in that little room?
Yeah.
On the back door? There was an actual cigarette lighter lit up, and you could see the cigarette ember burning on the end of the cigarette, and you could see the smoke coming off of it in the window. Yeah, my hand to God struck me dead. Tony Jordan said there is somebody in that fucking house.
Oh my God.
There was somebody in there.
So how long had y'all been in there before you
About
noticed
20
those?
minutes.
What?
Yeah, about
So was that the person you heard coming through the door?
Yeah. Yeah, there was somebody there. There was somebody, I don't know why they'd been in that old house like that with the pentagrams and shit, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And by themselves in there, they lit a damn cigarette, and we seen it light, and we seen the ember on the end of the cigarette glowing as it was puffing.
Did you just hear that? Did you,
I'm telling you, Mia's.
no, did you hear that sound?
What is it, Mia?
What is it, girl?
What is it, Grace? Come here, Dad.
Guys, this dog is very intelligent.
She sees some shit. She ain't happy.
She was laying there
Come here,
until
Mia.
Frankie started talking about that house, and then all of a sudden she jumped up. And,
That doesn't get you.
it's okay,
What
girl.
is it, Gracie?
It's all right, Mama.
What are you sensing, Gracie?
What is it, honey? What is it? It's okay. It's okay.
What is it, Gracie?
When she went to go in that chair, it was like, oh shit. I thought I was getting ready to flip.
She sees something, man. She's looking back that way. What's another one, Frankie? Me and my brother.
Maggie Richardson.
Yes. Me and my brother, my mom and daddy used to live in this trailer, and I was 7, 8 months pregnant with my daughter, Wendy, my firstborn. Well, Mom and Daddy was in bed asleep, and me and Frankie had been up watching that movie called The Twilight Zone. You know, scary movies, we'd watch them all the time. Well, we heard chanting going around the trailer, and me and Frankie's looking at each other. We was already freaked out because of the scary movies we was watching. We heard somebody walking up on our porch. Now, mind you, I'm big as a cow, pregnant, and you just had to see how our living room was set up. I'm going to let my brother finish from here. What happened when the door, she tried to come through our door.
We heard thump, 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 up the steps, and we was watching a scary movie at the time. And my sister was sitting right there next to the door, and my hand to God, Maggie starts beating on the door, and I look out the window, I said, oh my God, what's wrong with her? All her hair was hanging plumb down on her face. She looked like that girl off Down Marine.
Yes, yes.
And God, her eyes, you could see her looking through her hair at us, and she was going,
Yes, yes.
and I said, oh, fuck. And she started trying to
Come in our fucking door. Frankie's trying to hold the door shut.
Rhoda hollered, Daddy, and jumped up. And all I seen, my hand to God, I'll never forget it, I seen my sister's ass elevate straight up in the air with her legs straight out in front like she was still sitting. She moved in the air, and her fucking body turned before her legs started running before it even hit the floor.
How did?
Her pregnant. And this, and it said, Daddy. And it was like, what the fuck is she doing? And we was sitting there, And Rose said, can you believe that? We was talking, what the fuck's wrong? And I swear to God, here that crazy bitch come again.
Try to get in our trailer.
Running up at, she come running up on her porch.
She would back up and was ramming the door with her fucking head.
Yes, going, I'll never see fucking get that. Her looking through her damn heart and then rolled it through that fucking window, man.
Why was she acting like that, man?
She's possessed.
Was that the one that the thing went up in the trees and shit?
No, that's on.
No, that's on panel.
Yeah.
That's when I lived for the Lord.
Yes.
What the fuck happened with that?
I was serving God and I was living for the Lord back down. Serving Him.
Well, let me start the story.
Yeah.
Me and my friend Barbara had walked down to the store, guys, and I need a lot.
You used to go clubbing with?
Yeah, I need a lot.
Man, anything to drink, y'all never get it.
Here. I just took a sip out of it. I don't want. We had went. Yeah, I did. Oh, it might have been my foot. Guys, me and my friend Barbara had walked down to the store, and it was on a weekend, and Frankie was, dedicated to God, and he was really working for Him back then. Well, we was coming up the road, and Frankie had told me about our friend Dwayne Gilbert. A couple of days before that, he said that, Dwayne Gilbert, that the preacher got up there getting ready to preach a sermon, and he said, the preacher said, I feel there's an evil presence in the crowd, and he said, Satan, you have no power here. Well, Frankie went on to tell me that Dwayne Gilbert looked at him and a deep voice come out and said, no, you're a weak prophet.
No, it wasn't Dwayne Gilbert.
Hang on.
Hold on.
Hang on. That's who you told me it was.
No.
At the first. And I'm believing, listening to this shit, and I'm like, oh, damn, well, I went to bed. Well, that weekend, that Friday night, Frankie been to a revival.
Yes.
Me and Barbara's walking up, and there stood Frankie and the preacher. I'm like, oh, man, here we go. They're going to give us a sermon. And Frank puts his hand out, and he's like, sis, can I talk to you for a minute? And I didn't want to be rude and say no, so we stood there, and Frankie just held his head down. The preacher nudged him. He's like, son, you need to tell your family what's going on. Frank looks at me, and he's like, sis, you know I love you, right? I'm like, yeah, brother, I know that. He said, well, what I'm about to tell you, I don't want you to be scared of me. He said, but I kind of didn't tell you the truth about something. And I said, what's that? He said, you remember the story about Dwayne Gilbert and how it took 6 preachers to hold him down? They cast 7 demons out of him. Took 3.5 hours to do it. I said, yeah. He hung his head down again. The preacher said, tell her, son. My brother looked at me and he said, that wasn't Dwayne Gilbert, it was me. Man, I looked at my brother and I'm like, what? And he's like, you don't have to worry. They cast him out and I feel like I'm a new person. Now, there was some boys riding up down the road. One was named Alvin English, and the other one's named Toby. His mother was a minister, right, Frankie?
The church I went to.
Okay. We had seen, when the
the
Alvin guy will tell you he's a devil worshiper. He looked like a monkey with red eyes on his back, and we could see it.
My ex-wife Kathy said.
They had went beside my friend's house, and they drew a pentagram with salt.
Well, what he done, Rhoda? What Toby done that night? His mom, Billy Long, let me out of the car. And at this time, I'd been going to church for several months, started really serving the Lord, getting into it, studying the Bible completely, right? For hours. And I got into it real heavy at these tent revivals and everything, man. And things were happening to me, moving for me to the Lord. And I got the word. I was at church speaking in tongues and everything. Don't know how it happened, but it happened. And at this point in time, I get out of the car of Billy Long and he pulls off. And there's a bunch of people on Barbara's porch, And this guy comes walking down toward me. And his name's Toby Adams. And that's Debbie Adams and Ronnie Adams' sons are both pastors up there at the lighthouse, at that little church in Russellville right there. He comes walking up to me. He said, can I talk to you a minute? And I said, well, sure you can. He said, my parents are speaking very highly of you, right now, they said that you are on fire for the Lord. Said you're a fireball. Said that they've had many preachers tell them that you're on fire for the Lord, that they can tell that God is using you in a mighty way.
Yes.
And he said, would you care to do something for me? And I said, well, what's that? He said, would you pray for me? And I looked at him, I'm holding my Bible right there. And at first I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, God, is he trying to make a mockery of you or trying to make fun of me because I'm serving you? And I said, well, what's his point? I thought, why is he asking me to pray for him when his mother and father are both ministers, pastors? I thought, why does he want me to pray for him?
Frankie didn't know that
And
they
then,
had drew a pentagram beside that house with salt.
And I look at him and I said, well, I'll tell you what. I said, yeah, I'll pray for you right here now in front of, I said, and I'll pray for everybody on that porch. Line them up. No, man, I don't want nobody making fun of me. This is important. Can you come around here on the side of the apartment building and pray for me, just me and you?
I told Frankie, I said, don't go. They drew a pentagram over there.
I felt the presence of the Lord on me. And I looked at this guy. I said, yeah, I'll pray for you. And I go around the side of this project house. And my hand to God, I started praying. And I was praying the prayer, asking him, to help Toby. And I was telling Toby to pray and to ask God to come to his heart and forgive him for all his sins. And, and take his Savior, Jesus Christ, and admit that the blood, his son's, Jesus' son's blood was saved by the blood. Well, as we're praying, standing there, my hand to God to you, this boy's voice turns into a woman's voice. And I'm talking a beautiful voice coming out of him. And as I'm praying, I'm hearing this woman's voice.
Hey!
I quit praying and I broke concentration with God, and I looked up, and let me tell you, this boy's eyes was wide open. His face misfigured right in front of mine and went to a woman's face and looked me right in my eyes. He said, you're a false prophet.
Yes.
And I
We
looked
saw
at
it.
him, and I said, God, I said, I'm a young vessel in you, Lord, but I believe. You said, if I ask in your name through your Son, Jesus Christ, I will receive. I said, Lord, I ask you now to take hold of this matter and show this devil.
Cast him back to
Cast
hell.
him back to hell where he belongs, Father, in your name. I plead the blood. And before I could even touch him, his body flung plumb up against the concrete wall and come up off the ground.
Yes.
About a foot, and he was in the shape of a cross.
And it was in July, and it turned so cold you could see your breath
and his hand
before your
was
face.
against the wall, and you could see us you could see me praying. You could see the smoke coming out of my mouth, and this was in summertime.
July.
And all of a sudden, his face misfigures, and all at once I'm praying harder. And he's up against this wall, and I'm telling you, he's elevated. And all of a sudden, there was this sound that come out of that tree. There was something come out of him.
It came out of his mouth. It
I
was a
said,
green
in the name
mist.
of Jesus, I cast you out. And I'm not shitting you. There was a boulder smell hit me.
His head flung back, and it went up in the tree and went,
And you could hear it. And so help me God. I take it to my grave. My ex-wife Kathy, she come across the road with the Bible. She heard it from her house, and she said, that is the demon. And she said, that is the sound of a pig being slaughtered.
Yes.
And that's what it sounded like. It was going,
Yeah.
and I'm talking, it got loud. And all of a sudden, and I'm praying, I'm like, God, Father, help me. What do I do, Lord? And there was something that said, touch him. And I shit you not, I went to touch this boy's body, and he flung off that wall, like jumped and tried to run. And when he did, I don't know, there was something come over me, and I grabbed to hold him and throwed him to the ground.
His hands were mashed an inch. That boy's hands was mashed an inch.
I was up over
in the dirt where Frankie was holding him, praying for
I was
him.
pushing his arms down into the ground. That's the truth. And Kathy called his mother Debbie. Well, what it was, when I was praying over him, and I'll be honest, when I was praying for him, and I was on top of him, and I was pushing his arms down, they said that I looked at him as I was praying and said I quit praying, and told him to look in my eyes. I was going to show him real evil. Said my voice changed, and said I was looking at him, mashing his arms down. He started screaming for help.
God, please help me, he said.
Get him off of me. Get him off of me. And he jumped up and took off running from Panorama all the way to the Bilo down there in front of Rusty Wallace.
Now, mind you,
And
his
called
mother had done came up there. She was on her way.
And
She
Darren
looks at Frank.
Told me that she knew it. She seen it on me.
She said,
I
Frank,
got attachment
step back,
on me.
because
Toby.
Alvin English.
Yeah.
He said, he went like this, I want to see what you got.
Yeah.
And Frank said, the power of God's running through me. I'm going to show you what I got. And that preacher said, son, step back.
Yeah.
She said, you got an attachment on you right now. I can see it.
Yeah, big time.
She went and prayed for Frank. Now, I'm telling you, I saw this with my own eyes.
clothes
His
were
body,
shivering.
here he is standing like this.
Vibrating my
When
shirt.
she went to
There was
pray
no
for
wind
him,
blowing.
his body went from standing like this, right up in the air, elevating.
Yes, right there on Kathy, right there.
It was
Kathy
flopping
Below.
him up and down off the ground, and
Yeah.
she kept on praying. They was white stuff started spewing out of his mouth.
Yeah,
She said, I cast you, devil, back to hell. You can't. I'm getting cold chills thinking about it. And it was in July. We was all praying. We was all in a circle around him
Yes, that's
praying.
the truth. Honest
The
God,
Alvin guy said, I need your prayers. Pray for me, dear preacher.
Man, she didn't even touch him, man.
She didn't even touch him. She went over to put her hands on
I
him.
don't have my lighter anymore.
His body started flopping off the ground like that right there.
Yes.
He jumps up and takes off running. She said, that's right, Satan, run. She said, because you have no power over God's
You could
strength.
see it on his back.
Really, you
Yes.
saw my lighter?
And she even told us, she said, you need to go do some searching and history on this place. Well, we did. We went up to the library the next day.
Yeah.
They told us to go to the courthouse. When we go to the courthouse, we pull up the records on Panorama
Yeah.
Drive, and guess what? All of that
That
over
whole
there
hill.
is the old Morristown Cemetery.
That used to be a graveyard up
They
there.
took the headstones up and left the bodies there.
Yeah.
They
never
threw the
moved all
headstones in the
bodies.
woods. I can take you tomorrow and show you those headstones. It's still there in the woods, right
there
out from
next
the
to
water
projects.
tower.
Yeah. Next to the project.
So they was good and bad people there. Spirits.
Can you tell us about the pentagram? I think it was one of you that jumped in the pentagram.
That's where Frankie chased that boy in that pentagram
Yeah.
Yeah.
and started praying for him.
He was really possessed by the devil. He really was. And
Frank
this was
cast
the
it out of
preacher.
him.
This was the preacher's son.
Yes.
And he was a genius at any instrument you could think of. Boy could play it. Played in churches and everything. And then he ended up becoming, him and his brother Eric both become drag queens.
Now listen to this too, guys. Frankie went to, about a week before that happened, Frank went to a revival.
Yes.
He came in,
Mom. With Mom.
and me and
her
Mom
mother.
and Frank was in the kitchen. Frank was eating soup beans, and he'd got him a glass of Coke and sat down on his table. We was talking about the Lord, and Frankie was talking about how, you know, you could see it on him. He was glorified in God's power. We was sitting there talking, and Frankie was so full of the Holy Ghost, the Holy Spirit. He was, you know, just shouting out, praising God for the wonderful blessing he got that night.
Daddy went in the living room drunk.
My dad was in the living room. That cup moved to the
Full
side.
glass, big thick glass in that
And
table.
we didn't say anything. I thought, I'm not saying anything. They're going to think I'm stupid.
Mom just looked
Frank
at
just sat there with his spoon in his hand. He looked up at Mom. He said, did you see that? I said, I saw it. Mom said, I saw it too. I just wasn't going to say anything. Frank said, move that cup again.
Mm.
That cup went flinging, I mean, all the way across the table, missed Mom's head by centimeters, and hit the wall.
I'm gonna go use the bathroom, but this chair.
It was a big glass.
Well, we wouldn't call it the preacher. Mike's room had a bunch of dark stuff hung up on the walls and shit.
Yeah.
Well, the preacher asked, could they go through the house and pray over it? And Mom's like, yes.
Yeah, it was bad.
He goes all the way through the
Mom was
house,
sitting
and then when he
right there
comes to
with
Mike's room, he said he's in there.
Kathy. But I'll tell you this.
Hang on, Bubba.
Mhm.
He opens his door. He said, I smell you, I see you, and he pointed. And you could see a black thing standing in the corner in Mike's room. And it smelled like sulfur coming out of there.
Yeah.
That preacher instantly got out his Bible and started talking in tongues
Yeah.
and prayed in that room. He said, open the doors and the windows now. He chased that thing out of there. You could, because as soon as he
You forgot one part, though.
What?
You forgot about Daddy. When that glass moved across that table, it didn't move once, it moved 3 times, if you remember. Because when I was eating the beans, and me was praising, like I said, was praising God, that glass slid. And I had the beans up like that, and I looked at Mom across the table, and I was kind of set back and set my beans spring back down. I looked at Mom, she was just sitting there, kind of had them blue eyes looking at me. And I kind of shooed it off to by the beans. As soon as I got the beans in my mouth, that glass slid again. I looked at my mother, I said, Mom, she said, I seen it the first time.
Yes.
Son. It moved. She said, you or me one is making that do that. And me and Mom, see what we done. We was praising the Lord, right? The devil didn't like that, because we was giving praises to God.
Yes.
And the devil seen a loophole, what they call a loophole, a hole. Because our body, you know, is a testament, you know.
That temple.
Temple. Well, the devil seen an opening to play with us, to move that glass back and forth on that table. And it got us off of the actual conversation about the Lord, how God moved in church. Well, the second time it moved, my mom said, Junior, get in here right now. And I tell you exact words my father said. Oh, gee, Dick, what the hell's wrong with you crazy fucking people? She said, Junior, Sills, get in here. He comes in the kitchen, has a quart of beer in his hand, turns it up, and he's taking him a drink, What is it? What in the hell do you crazy people? She said, June, she said, that glass has moved on that table twice by itself. My dad, he took him a big drink of beer, my hand to God, and started laughing at me and my mother.
All 3 of us.
Yeah, started laughing. He said, and this is his exact words, he said, I know you damn people crazy. Now I know I'm drawing a fucking check off of you. Well, what the fuck is that? Oh, it's later. He said, I know I'm drawing a damn check off of you. And my daddy was standing there. And I remember looking at my mom, and I looked at my dad. I said, seeing is believing, ain't it, Dad? And he said, what, son? I laid my spoon down, my hand to God, Austin, and I didn't even get my hand right. I just got my hand raised up and pointed towards the glass, and that fucking glass slid plumb across the table again. My dad spit the beer out in the floor, and he said, what in the fuck? And Dad picked the glass up, looked, Dad said, how the hell did you do it? And looked under the table, looked at the glass. He said, boy, now my dad was a stern man, and he didn't go for no bullshit like that. He said, boy, and he said, I don't know how the fuck that glass just moved. He said, but I don't like that shit. And I'm gonna tell you this, my dad was drunk that night. But when I looked at my dad,